Did you know that a staggering 88% of people who try those intense lock-in style discipline challenges fail within the first 2 weeks? Crazy, right? Have you ever felt like a complete dumpster fire because you couldn't stick to that insane 5 a.m. workout, journaling, meditating on a bed of nails routine? Like somehow you were the broken one? Well, I'm here today to blow that idea up. It's probably not your fault. You've likely been sold the lock-in lie, the myth that the only way to achieve anything significant is through brutal, grinding, extreme discipline. Today we are dissecting why that's often terrible, burnout including advice, using actual science, and most importantly, I'm going to show you what actually works for building discipline and habits that stick around without making you hate your life. Stick with me. Now, let's be fair. The lock-in idea sounds badass. It whispers promises of ultimate control, of finally crushing that procrastination monster, of leveling up and escaping that nagging fear that you're not living up to your potential. And this isn't some new fad. Think about the almost mythical stories from Silicon Valley, coders surviving on caffeine, pulling all-nighters for decades, or just look online today, that constant barrage of hustle harder, grind 24/7 gurus flooding your feed. It's relentlessly presented as the mandatory path to success. But let's get real for a second. Doesn't this narrative often feel like it's poking at your deepest fears? That fear of not being good enough? That guilt we feel if we dare to just rest? It promises power, but maybe it profits from our insecurity. The implied promise remains rapid, almost magical transformation through sheer force of will. Sounds epic. But does it actually hold up under pressure? Here's where the lock-in lie starts to show its cracks, and science gives us some fascinating clues. First off, the willpower myth. You've heard it. Willpower is like a muscle, right? It gets tired. Psychologists call this ego depletion. Except, plot twist. The science behind the specific idea, it's actually super shaky now. Major studies trying to replicate it failed. And here's another layer. Some research also suggests that our beliefs about willpower actually influence how we perform. Just believing it's not some rapidly draining resource might help you persist longer. So that old model of a willpower muscle that easily breaks, it might be unhelpful, psychologically and scientifically questionable. Again, maybe the strategy is flawed, not you. Doesn't that feel kind of liberating? Problem 2, and this one is huge. The stress spiral, that intense, constant pressure you put on yourself during a lock-in. Your body often reads it as a danger. This triggers your stress response, flooding your system with hormones like cortisol. Now, cortisol is useful for running from a bear. But chronic stress, it keeps cortisol levels high. And guess what high cortisol does? It impairs the function of your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for planning, focus, decision-making, and willpower. You see the cruel irony? Trying so hard to be disciplined through intense pressure can create a biological state that actively undermines your ability to be disciplined. It's a one-way ticket to burnout city. And finally, let's talk straight about failure. Remember the shocking stats, like 88% failing fast? It's often not just lack of trying. The common culprits are setting wildly unrealistic goals overnight, like going from couch potato to running 10k in a week, or having zero actual plan beyond just be more disciplined, and that killer all or nothing thinking, where you eat one cookie, feel like a failure, and then eat the whole box. Yeah, that. Seeing how common this is should tell you something. Often the methodology itself is the problem. Okay, deep breaths. If the extreme lock-in is often a recipe for burnout built on shaky ideas, what actually works for building discipline that sticks around? It boils down to shifting from unsustainable brute force to smart, sustainable practices. Principle 1. Focus on the process, not just the prize. We get obsessed with big, sexy goals. Write the novel, get the promotion, run the marathon. Those are great destinations, but real progress comes from building the consistent process, the system of actions that gets you there. Think about it. What happens to many marathon runners the week after the race? They stop running. Why? Because the entire focus was on the finish line, the outcome. Once achieved, the motivation for the action disappears unless they build a love for or habit of the process of running itself. Don't just chase the goal. Build the engine that gets you there and keeps you going. Principle 2. Consistency beats cramming. Start small. Forget heroic, unsustainable bursts of effort. The real superpower is consistency. Showing up day after day, even in small ways. The key? Start incredibly small, like ridiculously small. So small it feels almost silly not to do it. Want to meditate? Start with 1 minute. Want to write? Start with 1 sentence. This builds momentum and confidence without overwhelming you. Principle 3. Be flexible and realistic. Work with yourself. This is where gentle or flexible productivity comes in. Life isn't a perfectly predictable spreadsheet. You'll have high energy days and low energy days. You'll get sick. Things will interrupt you. A rigid plan shatters at the first sign of chaos. A flexible approach adapts. It means having self-compassion when you slip up, adjusting based on your energy, and crucially aiming for actual work-life balance, protecting your rest and personal time, not the draining always-on work-life integration that hustle culture demands. Putting it into action. Forget complicated hacks. Think basic principles for the next week. Start tiny. What's the absolute smallest version of the action you can do consistently? Link it. Can you attach this tiny new action to something you already do every day, like brushing your teeth or making coffee? Shape your space. How can you make your environment nudge you towards the good habit? Like leaving workout clothes out, and make bad habits harder, like putting your phone in another room. So let's recap. The lock-in lie sells you intense pressure but often delivers burnout because it ignores how our brain and hope and bodies actually work. Questionable willpower models and the discipline-killing effects of stress. The smarter, more sustainable path: build consistent processes, embrace flexibility, start small and shape your environment. Alright, here's your mission. Pick one of those principles, start tiny, link it or shape your space, apply it to one thing for just the next 7 days. That's it. No pressure, just observe, see how it feels compared to the all or nothing grind. Thanks for watching!